Hi everyone, I don't know what I'm doing, and today we're making the pen rocket. Let's get into it.
All right, as always with everything that I make, we're going to be starting with the Bic roundstick pen. These pens are fantastic for all kinds of different projects. This one is no different. The next thing we're going to need is a Smartwater bottle, an empty bottle. These bottles are great because they have a smooth surface and the contour is right for making propellers, so that's good. We're going to need Scotch tape, obviously, 2 rubber bands. These are the specific ones that I got from Office Depot, size 32 rubber bands. They'll work the best. You're also going to need 2 jumbo paper clips. If you have a set of needle nose pliers handy with the cutting edge on them, that's going to make your life a lot easier for this project. You're going to need a push pin and a nice pair of scissors. You will also need a manila folder or cardstock, but I recommend a folder. It's easier to use. You'll see why in a little bit. All right, so let's begin with the Smartwater bottle. I've already cut off the end of this one, and so now we're going to make our propeller. So you want to go about 6 inches or a thumbs up from the end and about 3 fingers width from the side for the basic dimensions of your propeller. And you're going to cut that shape out of your Smartwater bottle. All right, so now we're going to actually make some cuts to turn this into the propeller. We're going to start by cutting 1/4 of the way in from the side. So if you divide this width by 4, come in one of those, and you're going to make a cut almost all the way to the center of this piece lengthwise. So you want to make a couple of cuts. Don't go all the way to the center. Don't cut all the way through. Cut almost to the center and then stop. And then you're going to rotate it, and you're going to go from that same edge, the right-hand side, and you're going to go 1/4 of the way in, and you're going to make that same cut almost all the way to the center again. Now we're going to cut these edges off. So using the scissors as a guide here, we're actually going to make an angled cut, and we're going to remove this piece of plastic. And you should have an angle that looks like that, and you're going to rotate it and repeat that on the other side. And now you have a basic propeller shape. Rounding the edges makes for a more effective propeller, so I definitely recommend you do that. Be careful not to take too much of the propeller off from the edges, though. You want to keep that basic shape. And anywhere where there is a corner, I've found it's better to round it. So even these slight angles that you have here are best if they're rounded. And there's your propeller. All right, next we're going to use the push pin to make a hole in the center of the propeller. You want to make sure that this hole is centered both widthwise and lengthwise. It doesn't have to be exact, but the closer you can get, the better. This hole has to be able to accommodate a paper clip, so make sure that your paper clip will be able to fit through this hole. If you give the pin a bit of a wiggle, it'll open up that hole more. And then I definitely recommend testing the fit with your paper clip to make sure that it can slide through there easy, because that's going to make your life easier in the future. All right, now let's take a look at our pen. We're going to first remove the cap, which we don't need, and the inkwell, which we do need. So set that to the side and hang on to it. All right, using our push pin, we're going to make a hole in the back cap of the pen as centered as possible. This hole has to be able to accommodate your jumbo-sized paper clip, so I would definitely waller the hole out a little bit to make sure that your paper clip slides in and out easily and also is able to rotate inside the pen unhindered. Now that the back cap is ready to go, we need to remove it. Using a pair of scissors, get underneath the lip of that back cap in between the pen and pry it free. You might jack up the plastic from the pen a little bit, but it's okay. This doesn't have to be perfect. All right, now grab one of your paper clips and fold the end out. And now you're going to insert it into this back cap, and you're going to straighten it out along that edge. Obviously, the straighter the better, just because it makes things easier. So now what we need is to put a small hook in this end of the paperclip. This is the same end of the paperclip that is near the hollow section of the back cap. We need to make this hook to where we can hook the rubber bands on it without a struggle, really, but it still has to fit inside of the pen body. So make sure that your rubber bands fit on it, and also test to make sure that it is able to spin freely inside of the pen tube. Okay, now we're going to cut this paper clip, and we want to make sure that this hook has space between it and the cap so we can get our rubber bands in there. And then from the cap to where you cut it, you want about a finger's width. Now grab your inkwell, and we're going to make a bushing here. So we're going to cut a very small part of this inkwell off the back that does not contain any ink. All right, this bushing is going to install over the paper clip on the solid side of the pen cap. And then the next thing we need to do is to put a 90-degree angle in the paper clip just over the top of the bushing. We're going to use this to capture our propeller. Make sure that this spins freely in the pen cap and doesn't get hung up on anything. Now grab your propeller, and on the curved side, you're going to insert the paper clip and pass it over the 90. Lay it flat against the surface of the propeller, and then you're going to tape that down. Next, we're going to install our rubber bands onto this hook. And this portion of the build is done. We can set that to the side. All right, grab your pen tube and your push pin, and we are going to make 2 holes near the end of the pen using our push pin. And that's going to go all the way through. And again, this has to accommodate your paper clip, as always. So we want to make sure that these holes are wallered out. All right, next we need to make our rubber band pulling hook with our remaining paper clip. So straighten out all of the bends except for this one remaining one at the end. It has to be able to fit through the pen tube, so I recommend squeezing it down with your needle nose. Make sure that it fits. All right, now you can hook the rubber bands onto this hook, and you're going to pass the other end through your pen tube. Make sure that it is the opposite end of the 2 holes you created in the pen tube. You're going to pull your rubber bands all the way through and attach your cap on the end. Using your hook tool, pull the rubber bands all the way out the other end and insert your finger in between the rubber bands. And now you can remove your hook. You want to open these rubber bands up wide enough to where there's a space to insert this paper clip between the rubber bands in the pen tube. Once you've got it all the way through, you can then release the rubber bands down onto the paper clip. Now you can just remove the excess paper clip that's sticking out from the pen, and your rubber bands are captured. Now is a good time to test your propeller. You can wind up your propeller here. I do not recommend winding it up so much that the rubber bands sort of triple knot, if you will, on themselves. Because if those rubber bands break inside of the pen tube, it's kind of a pain to replace them. When you let go, you should feel quite a bit of air on your hand from it. And if that all works, then you can set this to the side, and we'll start on the fins. Go ahead and grab your manila folder, or whatever you've got. But if you're using a folder, this is going to be the easiest. We're going to locate this inside crease here, and we're going to take some measurements with our pen rocket propeller thing. So you're going to want to measure the length of it, and then to get real exact, about 4 fingers wide. And you're going to cut at an angle between those 2 points, and that's your first fin. I would cut your folder back and place this fin against the edge and trace it out with your inkwell. And now you have 2 matching fins. You're going to go on either side of your pen. Grab your tape. Place your tape along one edge of one fin. And then apply that to the side of your pen. You're going to grab another piece of tape, and you're going to capture the other side of this fin much the same way. And then just repeat this process with the other fin. All right, once those are secure, you also want to apply a piece of tape between the two fins. And what this is going to do is it's going to solidify the fins so that they're not as floppy. You'll see that in flight, these fins will be more stable if you add a piece of tape here that captures both fins and the pen body. I've applied it here, and I've also applied it to the other side already. And this gives these fins a lot more stability.
Okay, now that your rocket's done, now we're going to wind it up. So you're going to start by putting your finger on the flat side of the propeller here, and that's the side you're going to rotate. So we're just going to rotate that until you feel resistance in your rubber bands. Again, you don't want to go too much on here because you can actually break those rubber bands if you're not careful. So just get a decent amount of torque on there, and once your rubber band kind of doubles up on itself, it's usually good. Sometimes you can go triple if you want extra power. And once it's there, you just let her go. Oh. All right, there you have it, the pen rocket. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed the build. Please consider subscribing.